going to be more than that.
The 75th, the 80th anniversary as well. Tonight we're going to share some of those memories they have to share with us this evening, and let's try not to recognize the many achievements of the various individuals who have. And I'd like to invite firstly, of course, gentlemen, but our responsibility as well in terms of executing some of these things as well, all right? So he's shared his messages, he's challenged all of us in terms of
I can still recall the last time I spoke to fellow students about, this was more than a decade ago, in my other capacity as a government minister. But tonight, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the chairperson of the Natabua Scholars Association, Mrs. Taina Rokutambua, the members of the organizing committee, Mrs. Mary Wesley, Mr. Dan Lomata, Mr. Choeli Tui, Mr. Samu Novale, and former students and members of the Natabua High School alumni, your good spouses, your partners, friends, and supporters. It's always good protocol to address the chiefs of the Vanua. And in that regard, the chiefs of Vanuatu Nanti, Isam Bulunaka, Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Noya, Ori Nihao, and a very good evening to you all. As we came through the lobby, I told the general manager, it's very unusual for us to come to an almost deserted resort as popular as the Westin. Now, I hope that not too long we'll have children running around and our visitors flocking into this hotel in great numbers. Where I used to work, they say, inshallah, God willing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, fellow colleagues and former students, members of the Natabua High School alumni, at the outset I'd like to acknowledge, commend, and thank Mrs. Taina Rokutambua and the members of the organizing committee most sincerely for kindly inviting me to be your chief guest during tonight's very special and historic dinner. For we are able to come together and reunite as a former Natabua High School student body to commemorate and celebrate the school's 90th anniversary as one of our beloved nation's prestigious institutions for higher secondary education. Now, in fact, I've been looking forward to attending tonight's function. And on behalf of my wife, Sarote, and members of my staff from SUA, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate past and present students and teachers, and our present friends and supporters, to express our profound appreciation and gratitude to the extended Natabua High School family, our immediate families and supporters too, for the manner in which you had collectively maintained and promoted further the proud and enviable legacy and reputation of the school over the decades since its inception some 90 years ago. We've come a long way. And I'm sorry I missed the 80th anniversary celebrations. I look forward to the centennial celebration if I live that long. The good Lord says that one should live 70 plus 10. And for those of us who have gone over that number, every day is a blessing. So we thank the Lord for that. In fact, as a former student and prefect who left Natabua High School during my final year way back in 1966, and I was talking to Kanti Tapu, who I look around and I think he's the most senior former student here in the group. He was there about 3 years before me. Now, I deem it a great honor and privilege indeed to be attending this auspicious occasion since I left and enlisted in then the Royal Fiji Military Forces about 6 decades ago and embarked on my long and dedicated journey of service to our beloved nation. As a soldier and military commander, a United Nations Assistant Secretary General and Force Commander of UNIFIL, a government permanent secretary, a diplomat, head of mission, a government minister. And now it is such a great honor and pleasure indeed to be addressing you this evening as your President and Head of State. Now, dear friends and fellow alumni, similarly, I'm so thankful and equally humbled by this ideal opportunity to be present here tonight among so many of you whom we all attended the same learning institution, the Natabua High School, but during different eras. And we all went off on our own in pursuit of excellence and a successful career within the different sectors within society, either in the public or private domain, yet remained in contact over the years with a common identity as members of the school's alumni. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing is quite certain, and that is we are the product of a special school that prides itself of its motto, in Scientia Fortitudo, as you all know, in knowledge there lies strength. An ingrained catalyst into our individual and collective psyche to endeavor to strive for excellence in everything that we do. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you, because I believe that you have done reasonably well as professionals in the careers of your choice, and collectively, we have contributed immensely to our beloved nation's overall social, political, and economical progress since we left Natabua High School, which in my humble opinion, instilled and imbued in us a fundamental competitive spirit to succeed in life with the right motivation, discipline, and drive to lead by example and be a beacon of hope for fellow Fijians in the manner in which we interact and lead our lives as intellectually capable and very positive and influential Fijians who had and continue to contribute substantially to nation building and Fiji's overall peaceful and progressive progress as a young, independent, developing, democratic sovereign state, which we of today and hopefully future generations of Fijians would continue to be proud to call home. This is home for us. I know many of our former colleagues, friends, and students have left our shores for greener pastures overseas. But I met many of them, and they still regard Fiji as home, whether they're in America, in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, or elsewhere. Now, in this regard, please allow me to digress a bit and remind you about our nationwide celebrations and commemoration of our 50th independence anniversary, which is still ongoing, during which I presented deserving members of our various communities with their commemorative medals. And despite the real, ever-present, and serious threat and the traumatic, devastating, sad reality impact of the COVID-19 pandemic to humanity's social cohesion and economic well-being, we celebrated this historical and important milestone in our evolution into political, socio-economical maturity in style nonetheless. because we are a resilient and determined nation and people. We are proud of our achievements locally, regionally, and internationally. Now, in recent times, we have been punching above our weight in addressing some global problematic issues like climate change, the protection and the preservation of oceans, and the global ecological environment, to name a few. And we've done this as a responsible sovereign entity within the global community. I remind the recipients then that despite the global new norm, which has been unfortunately imposed upon humanity by the ravages of COVID-19 pandemic, we show the world that this is Fiji. This is who we are. And we belong to a nation that cares for its citizens and rewards them accordingly for their very invaluable contributions to national progress and prosperity. As a product of a prestigious and iconic secondary educational institution like the Natabua High School, we should lead by example and be thankful and proud about the fact that we are doing the right thing in life because of the proper and noble foundational values, principles, and traits that we learned during our formative years at the school. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to digress further from the gist and thrust of my presentation and draw your attention to some of my additional responsibilities as your president. We're here to celebrate the 90th anniversary, but I've been asked to talk some more about what I do as your president. So I am very mindful of the time limitations. I know it's getting past dinner time for some of us, so I'll try and keep it short, but please bear with me. Now, since assuming the role of champion and lead advocate of our national effort to effectively combat the prevalence of non-communicable diseases, NCDs, in our midst, I have been very vocal and committed in trying to draw the attention of our people to these scourge, which unfortunately and sadly have over these past decades claimed the lives of too many of our young and middle-aged people. Reduced productivity to an extent and cost government a substantial amount of its financial allocation to the Mental Health Ministry in treating patients with NCD-related ailments. Now, these, as you know, are much needed funds that could be better utilized in improving the standard and quality of education in Fiji. Now, in supporting government's wellness program, I have demanded from the members of my household staff to be fit and well at all times and be the example to the nation in our level of physical fitness, bearing and work ethics. And if you're interested, you can join my team and I for early morning runs and our pack walks up and down the Namusi hills. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the State House, my staff and I strongly believe in leading by example, as I had alluded to earlier on. So I set the pace by running the talk. Walking the talk is too slow for us. As a former military commander and now Commander-in-Chief of the RFMF, I believe in keeping fit and well at all times. So my plea to you, members of Natabua High School alumni, colleagues, friends, relatives, your families, and your extended families, let us adopt a healthy lifestyle by having a well-balanced diet at each mealtime, and equally important, let's exercise daily. I've been assured that the meal tonight is a well-balanced meal. Now, food security is critically important for the survival of humanity and national progress and prosperity, and in this regard, I'm very happy to let you know that as an avid farmer, my security team and I take great pleasure and pride in the fact that to complement our daily physical training program, we are presently cultivating the land and producing our own root crops of dalo, tapioca, banana, kumala, and yams together with the vegetables within the State House compound. And I can share this with you. When I planted some pawpaws into my wife's flower bed, she got really upset with me. So my reply to that is, my dear, we're not going to eat the flowers. But now, if you do come to Suva and you have the opportunity to come to the State House, I'll show you, because we are growing a special type of pawpaws. It's big, it's sweet, and it's juicy. Now, this is our contribution towards promoting government and the Ministry of Agriculture's backyard gardening initiative. And I can still recall now, 3 years ago when I launched the program in Natabua, I was talking about backyard farming. There was a very attentive farmer who came up to me afterwards and said, Mr. President, we thought you're here to promote backyard gardening. What's the difference? You're talking about backyard farming. I said, you want to know the difference? Come to the State House and I'll show you the difference. It's all there. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to talk about climate change, which is a very topical issue and an important one at that. Now, climate change has been a very topical, as I said, an important issue because of its inherent profound impact on humanity's future and the survival of our planet. And we should be so thankful and equally proud of Fiji's unwavering and undying efforts in drawing the attention of the global community, particularly the major polluters, to the need to be more caring and compassionate towards small developing island states like Fiji and some of our Pacific Island neighboring states, whose very survival and existence is now being threatened by the phenomenon of global warming and rising sea levels. In my travels over the last couple of years to places like Tuvalu, Nauru, it's very sad. But we hope that things can be better. Now, in our collective effort to try and mitigate the impact of climate change to Fiji, in protecting and preserving our pristine and rich biodiversity, environment, and ecosystem, I gladly accepted the request of the Honorable Osea Naingamu, the Ministry for Forests, to launch government's 4 by million tree planting initiative some years ago. And I believe to date we have exceeded or surpassed this target, and the ministry is now embarked on a more ambitious program to plant more trees by 2025. Now, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to encourage all of us to remain in contact and assist the present school management and student body when and wherever possible, as I did way back in 2015, when I reviewed the Natabua High School Cadet Corps annual pass-out parade, and at the beginning of this academic year, before the onslaught of the coronavirus, when I officiated as chief guest at the inauguration of the prefects and the house captains, and commanded the principal, Mr. Virendra Sharma, his teachers and his staff for holding the fort and for preserving and maintaining Natabua High School's legacy and enviable reputation for the sake of present and future generations of our children who are going to be our future leaders like you and I. Now, my wife and I would like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a bright and peaceful and prosperous New Year. I certainly look forward to going around after this and meeting each and every one of you. And once again, thank you very much for the honor and privilege of inviting my wife and I to join you as we get together and celebrate the school's 90th years in existence. And Taina, thank you very much for the badge. It's been a long time since I last wore mine. Good souvenir. Now, God bless you.